Today on Light Bulbs and Wine, we're thrilled to welcome Chinedu Idigo, aka Edu Handsome. And trust me, he lives up to the nickname. A prince of the Idigo royal dynasty in Anambra State, Nigeria, Chinedu is what happens when creativity meets royalty and a whole lot of fabulousness. He's a fashion designer, podcast host, hopefully not coming for my job, stylist, actor, and fitness enthusiast. Basically, if there's a spotlight, Chinedu will find it and it will thank him. As the creative director of Edu Fab Signature, he's redefining style one design at a time, while also hosting hit podcasts like Trend Talk and Oya Just Me, proving he's got the gift of gab to match the drip. When he's not inspiring us with his daily quotes or showing off his fitness gains, Chinedu is spreading positivity and showing the world how to balance brains, creativity, and a dash of mischief. Let's give a royal welcome to the one and only Chinedu Idigo. Hey, so welcome, Edu. How are you doing?
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Got your wine here. This is Light Bulbs and Wine. So, oh wait, I was good. Oh, so let me ask this: what's your wine of choice?
Wine of choice.
Like dry or dry white, like dry white, red. Da, da, da.
I literally do all.
Okay.
I literally do all. Depends on my mood.
Okay, so
I'm
like
not really picky, so.
Today you're on a red tip.
Exactly.
Okay. So let me ask you this. In the introduction, we did say that you are you're a descendant of like a royal dynasty, right? Can you just talk about like how that influences your creative vision and given your background, how did you find yourself going into the creative? Because I can imagine that coming from a royal background, that might not have been the conventional thing to do. Yeah. So maybe you can just give me an insight as to what drove you, and how does your heritage sort of influence your creativity?
So I'm coming from a place where we were made to dress a certain way, and look a certain way for the people, because you're coming from the royal family. There's idea that you're supposed to dress a certain way, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was more about breaking out and then being regular, like every other person, So I felt the need to just get into the versatility of fashion and then wear things that people won't probably normally see me wear on a good day. So it kind of did, raise my hunger for more fashion and more creative things to wear and a different way to look and appear in public.
Okay.
So that kind of, gave them for that.
I would imagine
maybe want to create things more and more.
Yeah, I get that. But I would imagine that your background allows you to be able to like sort of. I would imagine people would send you clothes or whatever. Did it ever get to a point where what you got or what you saw other people making didn't feel like something that represented who you are? And maybe that's what. Yeah.
So growing up, it was easier to wait for cousins and uncles and aunts who lived in the US send down clothes for us, because there's this idea that all the clothes you were getting were from the States. And they weren't really necessarily made in Nigeria, bought in Nigeria. So growing up, we had to wait for them to send clothes over that we could fit into and then, thought like we belonged.
Yeah.
And there was this tag that it was from the US.
Yeah.
So for me, it was never okay, because sometimes the clothes come and they were like oversized, undersized, and they weren't necessarily, like our thing, like, it wouldn't fit properly.
Yeah.
So it was one of the things that probably increased my idea, my hunger for fashion, what to wear and how to wear it the right way. I had problems with fitting into those clothes. Sometimes I'd be seen wearing a bigger top, bigger shirt or bigger pants, and then people be like, "Oh, this is too big for you." But there's this idea that it came from the US.
Okay. So
you're going around wearing a bigger shirt, a bigger short, and then you're wearing it because of where it's coming from, but not because you really like it. It's not.
You're wearing the title of what it is, not because it feels like you. Yeah. I get what you mean.
These are part of things that really got me really, really invested in fashion, to the point where I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to get me something that fits me. I'm going to wear me something that fits me. I'm going to make me something that fits me the right way, the right size. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. You're back.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
Sorry, it's Nigeria.
No, it's fine. You're doing okay.
Uh, did you
So
get some of the things I said?
yeah, I got some of the things you said. It just made me think of something. I'm also from Africa. I'm from Zimbabwe, right? Originally. So my thing is, I know there's a lot
Mm,
of tailors who make clothes. And I can easily, like, if there's a function, go and say, I want this
making
to
something.
to wear this, and then I don't necessarily ever want to open a fashion house or to design stuff for other people. For me, it's always been like there's that option. Now I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, okay, so you decided this didn't fit you, and you decided you wanted to use that to sort of make clothes that you liked. What then made you change from, okay, I'm
Yeah,
making clothes for myself, and then to think,
making
okay,
for me and then making for people.
for other people, because this is
Yeah,
where the
yes,
the birth of Edu Fab Signature comes from, and I want to
yeah.
know
Edu Fab came
how
in. Yeah,
you
yeah,
came from, okay, I'm gonna get clothes made for me, because you could have stuck and been like, okay, I'll just make clothes that make me look good and that I don't
yeah,
care.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
done other things. What made you then go to say, okay, then I want to make other people look
So
good?
yeah. So I started making for me, and then it was fun. I kept making for me, and then a few times I go out and people be like, "Yeah, this looks nice. How did you make it? It's you who made it, you know." So every time I have to go out, I have to show up, make appearances, and then I keep getting these questions of, "Where did you make this? This is
Yeah,
really
yeah.
nice. I really want some." And the more the questions kept coming, the more the idea of making for people came through. I had
Okay.
to fight through the challenges of what if they don't like it? What if I make it, they don't buy the idea?
Yeah,
What if
yeah.
I make it and it's a no? These
Okay.
are things to consider when you're making for someone.
Yeah, yeah.
But along the line, I had to weigh my options. The more the people asked, and then the more I kept telling myself, why worry about, the outcome when you can make it first and then have them
Exactly.
fix the output and then. So I made from one person to the second person to the third person, down to the 10th person. I said, you know what? If this, you know, money started coming in. For me, it was
Yeah,
more about the love of fashion than the money, actually. I just
yeah,
wanted to make someone something they wear and then they look good in enough to give me credit for it.
yeah.
So the more I kept making, and then I kept telling myself, you could actually make money from this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Let me start with this. And that was how I started,
Okay.
you know.
And
Because also challenges where who would patronize you, who would buy your rubbish. For every designer, what you're making is rubbish before it gets credited for.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
So,
get it.
you know, exactly.
And
So
so
the
for
more accolades I get, yeah, the more
and
I
so
get
for
making.
me, then the next question becomes: are you the one who actually sews the clothes, or do you have a team of people where you say, "I designed this, and then they're gonna do the sewing or the seamstresses or whatever"? Is it you who
No.
actually does it physically yourself?
So actually, I mean, I'm a business guy from 2011, 2012-ish.
Hmm.
Back then, had to go to a fashion school to learn how to sew.
Okay.
I had to go learn the art of sewing and designing and all that stuff. I was in school I did fashion school for 6 months to a year.
Okay.
And I came out and I was making the clothes myself for a space of, I think it was almost a year I was making them myself. And then
Uh,
the clients were coming. Now, Nigeria is a place where you have to do more than you do. You need to go out there
yeah.
and get the clients. You need to do more than being on the machine.
Yeah.
So at some point, I was like, you know what? If I can hire people who are very good and
And
way more, better at this to do
yeah.
this while I'm out there serving the clients,
Yeah.
why not? You know,
Then
so
you
yeah.
do the designing, and then they put it together.
I Then I do the design, I do the getting the clients, I do the marketing, every other thing that has to do with growing a fashion brand. Why I get a team of people who makes the clothes, certify that they can actually make it to my taste, to my
Okay.
client's taste.
And,
So I had to do a lot of sourcing until I got the perfect people. I've worked with so many people over the years, and it's been an amazing run. I'm still working with some people because I can tell people you can never do it all by yourself.
yeah, it's a collaborative
You can
effort. I
never do
mean,
it all by yourself. Yes, a collaborative system. So yeah, I had to work with people. So currently I work with people who are very good at what they do. They understand what I want. They know that when I say do it this way, it comes out this way,
mhm.
and they get to share one idea or two. And at the
Yeah,
end of the day, we have an Edu Fab masterpiece that, is perfect and people like. So yeah, you can never do it alone. I have a group of people who I
it
work
takes
with
a village, I
and
say.
they're amazing. It takes a village to
And so then my next question would be: is your stuff bespoke, or do you have like a collection that you do and then it's off the rack, or is it like you only make specific things for specific clients and that's all?
So sometimes I do bespoke and sometimes I do off the rack, So I always tell my clients, if you don't like what I have already, you could actually send a picture of what you would want, and then we can recreate it for you. You know.
Yeah.
Now, I live in a country where people see things online and
Hmm.
they want you to recreate them your own way, and then probably put a touch of your brand,
Yeah.
of your just your uniqueness on it. So, yeah, I've given room for people to bring what they have if they don't, they have something. No, I live in a country where people don't want, some persons don't want you to come create your ideas. They already have what they want you to recreate.
Yeah.
They just come to you and say, can you make this? And some of them are generous enough to say, you know what, and just put something together and I'll
Yeah.
like it. I mean, I've seen what you've done. They're very nice. I trust you enough to create something amazing for me to wear. So yeah. Then I have a collection. I take time out to create collections that I love, that I want people to wear, that I want people to be free with wearing. I have them online, and that's like my thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do bespoke and I do ready to wear sometimes. I do you bring what you have, and I make it for you. So there's room for everybody.
I've literally been following you for the longest time. I think we had this conversation when we first spoke about you coming on the show, and so like
My
recently, I think
honestly,
this last weekend, I saw that you were at the UBA event, and you had this
yeah,
outfit where you had the I think was, I don't know if it's red or orange,
the regalia,
with the white top, right?
yes,
And I
yes,
was like,
the
in my head, I was like, oh my god, that's such a regal. And at this point, I didn't even know about you being coming from a royal heritage, but that could,
thank you
I mean,
very
that
much.
piece sort of came off and showed off like your royal heritage. I'm going to ask you this question. As a creative on the African space, what have been the challenges that you've faced in the industry, like just as a creative on the African space? Like, what do you think are your biggest challenges that you faced?
So I think it's getting people to accept what you've created and what you're wearing. I come from a country where there are people from different backgrounds, different tradition, heritage, and all that stuff. So there's always this, acceptance thing going on with people, unacceptance, I guess.
Hmm.
People find it difficult to accept what you're wearing, probably want to relate with what you're wearing because they feel, it don't match with their vibe, or they don't like where you're coming from. I think that's basically been my thing.
Okay.
Showing up in a regalia that is from where you're coming from, your heritage, and
Yeah.
then people from other heritage tend to, beg to differ, beg to
Yeah.
disapprove. So I think that's literally the only thing. I wish I could, Nigeria could be a place where people see other people's culture and really respect them because they really dress, you
Hmm.
know, or what they've got on, and then respect them enough to appreciate what they have and then not look at them and be like, what is
Uh,
he wearing?
I know exactly what you're talking about. And so
Yeah,
then
so
and so then leads me to this question. So in that case, right, I know you probably don't even know this, but I know you have a lot of impact on people, not just in Nigeria, in South Africa, like the rest of, especially West Africa. I know I've noticed a lot of people, like, if I'm one of those people who's just analytical like that. I noticed when you wear an outfit or you post something, and then 2-3 months
yeah.
down the line you find someone in Ghana wearing almost something similar, and you can tell that's Edu there, or you know what I mean. How does it feel when you can see your work replicated like that?
I think from the offset, from the start, I used to have this approval.
Uh-huh.
But I always tell my clients, if you can't make it from the brand,
Hmm.
if you get a cheap or local tailor who can make it for you,
Hmm.
that's okay with me. I've had clients and friends from all over the world call me and say, "Hey, Edu Fab, I saw the first outfit you made, and I had my tailor remake it for me." And I was like, "Oh,
And
nice."
how did
I'm
that
always like, "Oh,
look?
can I see the final outcome of it?" And
Yeah.
they send a picture. I'm like, "Okay, good job, amazing." I don't really I don't really think people should or must, you know break a rubber band to patronize, you.
Hmm.
I always say, if I always tell my clients and intending clients, if you think I'm too expensive, or you can't make it from me, get someone closer, get a cheaper tailor, okay, or someone you can afford who can replicate the same attire, and then you wear it. I don't think you're doing anything wrong.
Yeah,
I don't think
I see what you're saying. I mean, what you call it? Being copied is a great form of flattery, I suppose.
so. I don't have any grudges.
Mm.
I don't have any problem with that.
And how
Until
do
you
you,
can afford it, do what you can afford.
and how do you manage to stay authentic to yourself and your designs when, I mean, you're catering to diverse audiences? Because I mean, primarily I know that your designs are like Nigerian, but like you said, you've got a lot of other clients that are international. How do
Stay
you,
international.
yeah, how do you stay authentic to yourself, but then also cater to different audiences, diverse audiences?
So at the end of the day, it depends on the client. Some persons don't like thicker fabric. Some persons like softer fabric. Some persons don't like, everybody have their own different needs and different desires from what they want from you.
Hmm.
So it's finding the balance between them. I always tend to try to make time and, be sure that the client, I get particular, a perfect detailing of what the client would want
Okay.
and how they want it, and then I deliver
Hmm.
because people are different, so I tend to go out of think out of the box and see that everybody's met. They get their various
Yeah.
orders perfectly, and they were good. There are so many challenges trying to meet up with the clients. Most times it has to do with measurements.
Yeah.
People tend to send the wrong measurements and they don't fit. Someone who I like to say, I always say, send me a picture. If
Okay.
I feel like the measurements you sent me is wrong, I do this thing where I ask for a picture and then I get a picture and I could put two and two together and I make you something. And most times, every single time I ever done that,
Uh-huh.
there's always positive results. I get a client saying, "It fits. It came over and it
Perfectly.
fit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you do that? How did you do that?" And I always tell them, if I could just get a picture of
Hmm.
you, I can put it together and
So
conclude
you
on
can
what
actually tell
your success should
someone's
be.
size by their
Yeah,
picture. Really?
yeah, I do that. Yeah, funny enough, I do that.
Okay,
I
so
get it.
let me ask you this because that's making me curious.
Okay.
H-
Yeah.
What looking at me now? What do you think my size is?
So I think your waist 37, 30, your waist 37, 38,
Okay,
36-ish.
okay.
Yes. Then I think your trouser length should be like 38, 39.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm
So
wrong.
that would make me
Then
tall. That would make me tall, right?
no, 30, no, 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 no. Not too tall,
Uh huh.
not too short. Yeah.
Okay, I'm 5'10". So
Yeah, you're fine. You should wear it 37, 38 times.
oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that just by looking at someone you could figure that out.
Yeah, but your chest 45, 46.
I actually don't know my size in terms of like. So one thing about me, I've never worn. Well, I don't like suits. I think the last time I wore a suit was I don't remember the last time. I mean, I I worked in the finance sector as well. So the last time I wore a suit was like when I had like four more clients, but that's been a while.
Seriously.
Ever since then, I've not. And surprisingly, like you said, I couldn't get in touch with you for my cousin's wedding. There was a design that you did probably maybe 2-3 years ago, and I actually got something similar made for my cousin's wedding. I'll send you a picture of it after, but you probably laugh at it. But I thought it looked good at least at the time.
Until I see it. It's funny.
It will not be an Edu original, but it was something that did the job. I mean, for the pictures, it was
At
all
least you
right.
fell in love with it when you see it. As long as it's nice, that's fine.
Okay, so let me ask you this now: with everything that you do, like in terms of podcast, fitness, how do you manage your time with all of that?
So that's like I try and make sure that they don't intertwine. There's a different schedule for every single thing.
Hmm.
For my podcast, there are days mapped out for it. I show up at work, we do recordings, and then
Yeah,
I create time for other things. So I think it's just time, creating time for every single thing you have to do. When I have to be on set as an actor, I make sure I take time off,
okay.
every other, burdens on my shoulder, and then say that I'm really available to be on set,
Uh-huh.
to portray a character. And it's like when I have to style, every single client I have to style, there's always a booking. And then, they book you ahead of time, then you create a date for them, and then you make sure you don't have events clashing each other. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just fixing time. Yeah, Nigeria would happen, but it's just,
Okay, I'm going
I
to
don't
ask you
know.
something very interesting. I mean, so I also sing. So I know that
Yeah.
there's, like as a creative, my creativity comes in music. So I know that for me, there's a particular song that I can say, this is like the favorite song that I've ever written, and my work has never been released, other than work that I've written for other people. But like work that I've for myself, I've never released anything. But there's like specific songs that I'll say like, this is my baby. This is a song that if I ever was to have like a Magnus opus, this would be the song that I say is mine. What do you have a favorite piece that you've designed, and like you'll be like, if ever, like if I was to go down in history, this is the one design that should be like my mental piece. Do you have one?
Yeah, for me, it's my Edu Fab Imperial collection.
The Emperor's
I think I
Collection.
released my Edu Fab Imperial collection.
Okay.
It was released, I think, 3, 4 years ago.
Okay.
It's something I really took out time because for me, that particular brand, that particular piece was because of I come from a country where sometimes it's very hot and
Mm-hmm.
you just want to breathe.
Free. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want to take your clothes off and just, be free.
Yeah.
And I thought about a collection that you're clothed, but you still got room for, you know,
Uh-huh.
hair. Yeah,
Oh
so I
God, not
created
the hair. Really?
yeah, the
Why
Fab
pick
collection.
hair? Why hair?
No, I mean the air you breathe.
Oh, air. Oh, sorry. I got you.
Yeah, air. I got the wrong pronunciation, I guess.
Oh,
Air. Yeah.
so no, no, not to shade or anything. I've noticed that like it's one of those things where sometimes you, not you, but like as in like sometimes as a person we have this way of presenting ourselves that might look good to ourselves, but maybe some people may perceive as not necessarily what you like.
Yeah.
You think you're presenting an image, but then you're not. That's not what people are perceiving. Has there ever been a time where your intention with the piece that you were creating was something different from how people perceived it, and how did you handle that?
Plenty of, I think a few times I've had people's disapproval. I read the piece and people be like, why is it just like that? What is
Hmm.
it wearing? But at the end of the day, I measure the negative and the positive, and then the positive is way higher than the negative, and I'm like, you don't count, and
Would
then
you say you're sensitive about
the
your art?
positive, I am sensitive,
Okay, and how do you handle criticism?
criticism. I take it. So for me, it's room to do better
Hmm.
and measure. So you get criticized for something and then you get praised for something.
Yeah.
It's always been a skill for me, to
Okay.
be very honest. If the appraisal
Hmm.
is way higher
Uh-huh.
than the criticism, then I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with, I mean, people are allowed to criticize you. It's a human being, you get criticized for every single thing you do.
Yeah.
You hang out with someone, you get criticized for it. You take something, you eat a particular kind of meal.
Yeah.
You know, people always criticize something. So as long as you can sit back and applaud yourself for doing something good, and not
And
let
to be
the
proud of it
criticism get
for
to you.
yourself. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's always a constructive criticism that makes you better.
Yeah.
That's at the end of the day. So yeah, you know, people should be able to handle that. I've never turned that from. I've never.
That
I've never
I
let
like that
people.
mindset. Now, in terms of like, where do you see yourself in 5 years for your brand, and what do you think you want your brand to do for African creative designers, particularly? Where do you like in 5 years' time? What's your big picture, and where do you think your brand will be in terms of its a contribution to African designers?
So I've always told people there are room for every other designer to show up. There's a time for, your time comes, you do good, and then someone else comes and still does. I always tell designers that someone out there has done something you're about to do right now.
Hmm.
The world has existed for many, many years.
Yes,
There's nothing you're trying to create today that someone hasn't done in the past.
or as the
That's what I
Nigerians
always
would
say.
say, "There's nothing new under the sun."
So for me, I hope and I pray that if we're all still here in, the few years you've mentioned, my
Yeah.
brand will probably should be one of the brands that clothing home, clothing people and making fashion affordable for people. For me, my brand has always been about affordable fashion, not necessarily something that people cannot afford.
Okay.
When I tell people that my clients are the everyday people you see, they will not believe me. I've
Yeah.
now been I've now been one who thinks someone very, very famous must wear a design so you could get somewhere. At the end of the day, your clients are the everyday people who can afford you.
Yeah.
enough to want to give you a referral for someone else to afford you. Yes, we pray for the big clients,
Yep.
but some of them may just come once and then go for the next big thing. So it's how consistent you keep your brand in, you know, place and you keep delivering nothing but perfection and amazing creative,
Yeah.
you know, thing. Then let's keep selling, let's keep meeting the target audience, let's keep penetrating villages, communities, countries.
Yeah.
Let's keep people clothed, for the idea of what clothing should be and not the opposite.
And I think that's
Yeah.
a good
Growth, literally.
and I think that's a good mindset. Now, just to wrap this up, if you could
Are you there?
advise other designers, like upcoming designers, what would your one piece of advice be to them, like upcoming designers who may
Hello.
not have the opportunities that you've had, but think, listen, I want this to be for me. What would you say?
So for me, I always advise upcoming fashion designers who come to me, creatives who call me, reach out and say, "Oh, can you give me one or two advice?" I always tell them to start small.
Yeah.
Start from somewhere. Make yourself the face of your brand. Be your brand ambassador. Wear it so good that every other person who sees you wearing it would want it.
Hmm.
Because everywhere you go, you are your brand. No one else can sell your brand way better than you do.
Okay.
So start small.
All right.
I've never been a fan of getting the most expensive fabric because you want to put the piece together just to show off and then, have people see you.
Yeah.
Start from somewhere. Buy a fabric you can afford. When you tell someone when you get a compliment for an outfit and then, people ask who made it, and you tell them you did, they would want something like that. And then, you made for one person, you made for the second person, you made for the third person.
Yeah.
That's called growth. You know, don't go rob a bank or, go broke trying to come out in public looking all fly and classy when,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not your regular, it's not the regular you.
So start
There
small,
are cheaper
basically.
fabrics. You start small. There are cheaper fabrics out there. Create something, wear it, own it, and show off. Yeah, that's your growth. That's the job to your growth.
And okay, maybe in a nutshell, where can people find you? How do people, I mean, look for you and see and get your work and like purchase your stuff?
So, okay, so I have a site online. It's Edu Fab Signature .ng. I'm on Instagram. I'm on every other app. Edu Fab Signature is on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It's on
Hmm.
TikTok. You send a DM, you get a reply yourself, and then you make your order, and then we ship to you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming to the show, and I'm so glad that we got to do this. I'm grateful for you. And on this show, I am one person who believes in giving people their flowers while they're here, and just highlighting people who I think, and this is my own life experience, who I think are doing something. It might not be where you want it to be yet, or whatever, but I just want to say that your work has been seen. It is inspiring. I'm not a designer, but I've been inspired by a lot of your
Thank you so
work.
much. I'm honored to be here.
And I want you to know that as much as it might be difficult, you have to keep going, because there's so many people who are watching you and thinking, wait, this guy is actually getting it done. This man's getting things done, and I just want you to know that you are seen and you deserve your flowers now, and you constantly do, because you're doing a great job. So thank you for your contribution, and thank you for coming to the show.
Yeah, I think they need to know that most times we don't all got our shit together, if I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We all have our struggles, we all have our, breakdowns and
yeah.
moments like that. But at the end of the day, showing up and, holding on strong and still doing what you do and you love doing it. As long as you love doing what you do, that's fine. You know,
Yeah, and I mean that's all you can do at the end of the day. You cannot do more than you can't do.
at the end of the day, that's all you can do. You can work more than your economy.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for
Exactly.
coming to the show, and hopefully, I mean, whenever you have anything you want to talk about, you're always welcome. Friend to the show, and thank you for coming through, and hopefully, we'll see a lot more great work from you. Okay, a toast to Edu. All right,
Thank you so much.
thanks. Eh?
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, guys, so let's get to the light bulb moment of this episode. In my life, I've realized that the most important thing is to reflect in yourself and to think about what it is in your life that you want for yourself. And that's the most difficult thing to do, because a lot of the times it's easier to conform to what everyone expects you to be. And why am I saying this? I'm saying this in the sense that sometimes it's easier to be comfortable to do things that make everyone else happy around you and forget about what actually is important to the core of who you are. What am I actually trying to say? So when you look in the mirror, you have a habit every day of, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to brush your hair, you're going to fix your makeup, you're going to do, you brush your teeth, the usual morning routine or night routine, whichever time you're doing it, where you fix yourself. But because you know how to fix yourself, because you're looking at yourself in the mirror and realizing what doesn't look good or what looks good. My history has been very checkered with a lot of things that I'm not so proud of. Moments in my life, some of you who know me, that have been very difficult to address and embarrassing, moments that have taught me to accept my humanity. What do I mean by that is my flaws. We all want to portray an image of us being perfect humans. We all want to portray an image of us being the right human. This could be because of religion. This could be because of our backgrounds. This because of our families. And this could be a lot of things. But the most important thing is understanding that good and bad, all of those make up a component of who you are, or components of who you are. Now, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that it is important to understand and to forgive yourself, and to understand that it is okay to make mistake, and that it's okay to grow from them and to become better. Now, my biggest thing is with this episode is to understand that why are we in love sometimes with our trauma, the things that make us look bad, or the things that have hurt us or destroyed the core essence of who we generally thought we would be, or who we think we are, or who we want the world to perceive us as. And sometimes that looks like pretending to be something that you're not, pretending to be someone that you're not, because sometimes we've been raised in environments that didn't allow us to flourish. I have beautiful parents, a mother who absolutely would kill for me, who loves me more than I could ever know. And she has loved me in moments where I was not the easiest to love. A father who constantly chooses to love me. And it's a choice to love me. And there's nothing more important in life than to feel chosen. And sometimes in life we forget the roles our parents make because we think they're supposed to do these things. A mother is supposed to be that person who has an obligation to love you. And then a father, sometimes you have a father who you think, they choose you because, they don't want to, accept the pregnancy, whatever the situation is. And a father teaches a child that they're chosen and that they're loved. A mother teaches a child that no matter who they are loved anyway. And those are two lessons that I've learned that have taught me to understand what my trauma in my life did. I've gone through so many things, many situations that have almost destroyed me, destroyed my family because of actions and choices that I've made that may not necessarily have reflected the person that I was raised to be, the person that I know I should be, but I'm here and I am still learning, I'm still human, and I'm still trying to figure out this thing called love, called life, called everything. I understand the beauty of it all, the beauty of being unapologetically flawed, but at the same time having qualities about yourself that are lovable, that are worthy. There's a song that I love, it's by Flower Tree. It's called Superstar. And there's a line in that song that says, love isn't something that you earn, it's deserved, regardless of anything that you do. And I have the most amazing people around me, the most amazing friends, my siblings are my best friends. I was just talking to my sister before this, and she doesn't realize how much she impacts me by just making me laugh in the randomest moments that I don't even know that I was going to laugh, but she does. We were just talking to our guest, Edu, and something about what he was talking about in terms of choosing authenticity, choosing to live the life of making choices that made him happy, resonated so much with me to realize that I actually have so much more positive in my life than I have negatives, and that's okay. The people who choose to dwell in the past, who choose to dwell in your trauma, and sometimes you take the bait because it's comfortable. You know how to deal with hurt, you know how to deal with pain, but what you don't know how to deal with is when you are loved and accepted, and sometimes that might not be the easiest thing to do because it means you have to accept it, and accepting love and accepting tolerance and accepting everything and accepting forgiveness even from the people that you hurt, intentionally or not, is a big thing. So my question in this light bulb moment that I ask you and I leave you with is, what is it about your trauma that you keep attracting yourself to? What is it about your flaws that you enjoy to dwell in because it feels easier when people talk bad about you? It feels easier when people diminish your accomplishments. What is it about that is easier than when people compliment you and accept it, and knowing that that is the version of you that you should choose to constantly present every day? What is it about that you choose every day to say, I have to become this person because that is what I want to do? Because as the guest that came before, he chose where he came. He didn't choose where he came from, but he chose the trajectory of the course of who he has become. And that for me was a big takeaway. So I hope that this episode has given you some sort of insight into understanding that regardless of where you've been, where you've come from, it is possible to create the version of you that you want to present. And regardless of when you make mistakes or when you don't make mistakes, or when you get things right or when you don't get things right, it's okay to understand that it is all a part of who you are, good and bad. So with that, I'll toast to you, my audience, and say, I hope that you fall out of love with your trauma and that you start falling in love with the man in the mirror, because that is the exact version of who you are.